So 4% of the adult population has ADHD, okay? So tell me why up to 50% of our prison population has ADHD. Anyone? Does that make sense? No. Okay, so something's going on. So ADHD is not a gift, although I right now feel like it is. And I don't feel like I have mastered it. I feel like I'm in ADHD management right now, and my next step is mastery because I'm going to make ADHD my bitch. Okay. And although it can be a gift, because if you have the right conditions, the right opportunities, and all of the things come together and the world aligns to provide you a way to succeed despite your executive functioning disorder, then you become Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Aaron Brockovich. Okay. Otherwise, you go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. So many ADHDers go to jail because they cannot function. Now, ADHD is on a spectrum, and also everybody can feel or have moments of ADHD. As far as I forgot my keys. Oh my God, I put my keys in the refrigerator. I can't believe I forgot that thing. I'm running late because I totally thought I would be able to start and complete that entire art project before I left the house. But I couldn't because that doesn't make any sense. And I have no type of time of even knowing time is there. Okay. We don't have any way of measuring time or space. That's all executive functioning. So, but ADHD is also on a spectrum. So everybody has it a little bit, but it would be like saying, like what's the height where you become like a giant, like you have that disease where you're a giant. I don't know what it's called or what the height is, but it'd be like saying everybody has height. Okay, that's true. But if you're 7 feet tall, you're going to struggle with things that a lot of other people with height don't struggle with. So some people might be 6 feet and they might like be closer to it. And some people, even if they're 5 feet, they still have height, right? But it would be like being 7 feet tall and not knowing you're 7 feet tall, and then becoming an adult, realizing you're 7 feet tall and everybody else is 5 feet and 6 feet tall. And now you understand why you bumped your head the whole time and why people thought it was weird that you could see things that they couldn't, and why everybody just seems to be like on a different level than you, or you're in a different level than everyone else, and that nobody gets you, nobody realizes how hard it is to get in a door or sit in a car because they're not, yeah, they have some height or whatever, they can like kind of relate. Like, I bumped my head one time, but they don't actually have literally no type of executive functioning whatsoever. Okay, so as you get older, by the way, as you get older, you start to lose your executive functioning. So some people will start to get old and realize and start to think they have ADHD, that maybe they had it their whole life. But then you have to like look back into your life and realize like if it's been a thing you've had your whole life, or if it's genetic, or if it just started happening because losing your executive functioning as you get older is a thing. And that's why old people start to get super crazy in a good way. Like they don't care anymore and they're like wearing purple and weird stuff. And they say everything that's on their mind. They have no filter. They forget everything. They're like have memory loss. They fall more for no reason. You're like, how did that happen? They fell down the stairs. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense because they're losing their executive functioning, which is working memory, impulsive control, regulation, emotional regulation, all of these things. Okay. So eventually, all of you people will get on my level. Okay. And I'll be like, welcome. It's not as fun as it looks. But I'll have like managed it like a champ, and you'll all just be clumsying around, running into stuff, saying everything that's on your mind, and I'm only going to be saying 90% of what's on my mind. So, okay, so anyway, 50% of the prison population. On top of that, so hold on one second, you guys. So on top of that, it is, what is the stat? Okay, hold on. Okay. 35% of teens, like in schools right now, and our teenagers, 35% of teenagers that have ADHD will not graduate, or they will graduate late. 35%. So maybe we should be pinpointing the kids that have ADHD. I'm just saying. Um, Kids that have ADHD, people who have ADHD, are 3 times more likely to be dead before they're 45. Okay. People with ADHD have a 3 to 4 greater chance of having a substance abuse problem. Okay. People with ADHD are 11 times more likely to be unemployed or underemployed. Where's that little dog? Girls with ADHD are 3 times more likely to become a teen mother. Okay. People with ADHD are also 3 times more likely to be entrepreneurs. And I don't know what the exact stat is, but they're definitely immensely more likely to end up in jail. Okay. Because all of the things that make an entrepreneur are all the same things that make a fantastic criminal. Risk taking, the inability to regulate your decisions, not really being able to think through if something is a good idea. So, like, I don't know, should I build a new supercomputer? I think I'll just do it. I don't know, should I rob this store? I'm going to go for it. Okay. So all of the things that create a great criminal are the same things that create a great entrepreneur. Are you guys ready for this next stat? So here's what happened. Okay, so then I was like, you know what? I have a lot of questions. I learned these. I feel like our schools should be doing a lot for ADHD kids, and I don't feel like they are. So I think I'm going to run for office so that I can get all of the information and at least get the information. So as a trustee, there's no one above me. It's not even like a hierarchy where there's like a bigger political office person ahead of you. There's no one. There's me and 6 other people. We're the board, and our employee is the superintendent. And then he has to do things that we have said as far as our vision and the results we want. So if I ask for information, I get information. Like at least I'm supposed to. So I've been asking a lot of questions. And then the way it works is if I want to get something done or changed, I can request an agenda item publicly at a board meeting. Then the board can decide if it's worthy of being an agenda item. And then once it is an agenda item, I can't talk about it anymore, because then that violates open meeting law. And if I start talking at all, and like the more couple board members know like how I'm going to say something or vote something, then that gets really muddy because there's contracts and there's all this different stuff. So when something is an agenda item, I can't talk about it really anymore. Okay. 2 other trustees, I can talk to like some people or whatever. So I requested with the superintendent, I requested for him to set up a meeting with like all of the department heads that had anything to do with services that we offer ADHD students. I'm like, I want to know everything that has to do with ADHD. Tell me all the things, leave nothing out. I want to know all of it. Okay. So I had the meeting and oh my God. So I'm like ready there with like a notebook. I'm ready to take like a million notes. I'm super excited. And it was like, okay, well, what do you want to know? I'm like, well, just tell me what you know. We have ADHD kids and the teachers like help them if they have that. I'm like, oh, okay, well, then they told me like, I said, what kind of accommodations do we have for ADHD kids? It's up to the teacher, but it could be like up to their discretion. Maybe if they just change their seating or give them some reinforcements or like create a plan with the teachers, maybe put them with a peer buddy, bunch of stuff. Okay. So I'm like, so you don't really do much. And then I was asking, like, do you know what ADHD is? And they really didn't. And by the way, these are very nice people that I respect. It's just that, by the way, 90% of what we know about the brain has all been learned since like 1996 or something stupid. So a lot of adults don't even know this, and it makes sense why they wouldn't. And that's another reason why I felt like I had to forgive all the adults around me, because they couldn't have even known better necessarily. And about 85% of adult women with ADHD are undiagnosed, and a lot of them are misdiagnosed with depression or anxiety. As a fun little fact, because ADHD is something that little white boys get, and that's it. And if you are not a little white boy, you either have behavior problems or you are a ditz, and that's just what it is. Okay. So teachers don't always help because they don't know. So at the end of this session I had with these people, it pretty much came down to the takeaways are that we need to increase awareness to staff, and we need to educate parents on what it even is and fight the stigma and encourage them to at least get a diagnosis, because a diagnosis is clarification. We have 322,000 students in the Clark County School District. If about 8 to 11% of kids have ADHD, Mila, then we should have, you are the worst. I love you. Then we should have like 26,000 to 32,000 kids that have ADHD. Okay. How many do you think CCSD knows about having ADHD, or has diagnosed or is on the record with ADHD? You guys ready? I want to hear your guesses. Give me your best guess. We should have 26,000 to 32. We do. We definitely have somewhere in there. Of 322,000 students in the district. So we should have 26,000 to 32,000. How many do you think we actually have? Zero? Zero? No, it's more than zero. It's definitely more than zero. I need guesses, guys. So we don't, definitely not all the kids are diagnosed or noticed, right? So the highest we could possibly have would be like 32,000. 1 to 2%, 100. What would 1 to 2% even be? I was ready for the answer to be something like 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, something like that. And I was going to be like, we're missing half of them. We're missing 75% of them. Okay. We have 516. Yes. So closer to those numbers. You guys were good. So your faith in the school district is obviously quite low, and you're good at these guessing games. So I pretty much said to them, like, I was like, listen, I have ADHD. I was like, one of the things about ADHD is that we are relentless and we never stop ever if it's something we want to do. So I'm about to go kind of full ADHD on this, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm like criticizing you, because you're all nice, and I know you're trying to support students. So if I start saying crap about CCSD, it doesn't mean that I mean you. And they're like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, CCSD as a whole is failing students. We're failing at least 26,000 to 31,000. So then we're also expelling our kids at a super high rate, and there is a direct line to a prison pipeline from the school system. And 50% of our inmates, up to 50%, have ADHD. So, should we be finding more kids with ADHD and teaching them how their brain works and giving them the skills to survive in school and in life? I don't know. Also, some of these fields that ADHD people do well in and are attracted to, not politics or government. I don't think I've met a single other person that works with me or is in government or was elected that has ADHD. Not a single person. I say something like, oh, I have 5 ideas and here's this and this and that. And they all look at me like I have 3 eyeballs. And then I go talk to my friends who are like entrepreneurs, and they're like, oh, great ideas. I love them. And then they give me more ideas of how that could work even better. And then we're like, how can we hack this and make it faster? But okay, so ADHD people love a challenge. So they are drawn to entrepreneurship. They're drawn to some sports, fire, police, and military. Are you guys ready for this part? Okay. The way our military currently is that if somebody is diagnosed ADHD, like legitimately has a diagnosis, and they're on medication, they cannot join the military. You have to be off of medication for 1 year before they will take you into the military. So even though this is a fantastic field for people with ADHD because we have hyper focus and we can get hella stuff done and have unlimited energy when we're when we're excited or when we feel threatened or when we're challenged. So even though it's a fantastic field, also we thrive in places that have order. So even though this is a great place for ADHD people to be structured and to learn structure and have accountability, they're not allowed in there unless they've been off medication for a year. So you can only come into the military and use our weapons and fire bombs and guns if you're unable to regulate your executive functioning. We only want you if you struggle with the ability to prioritize and if you struggle with emotional regulation. That sounds like a great cocktail right there, right? So I don't know the exact number, but I've been reading about it, and a lot of soldiers get diagnosed ADHD once they're already military because a lot of them didn't have insurance beforehand. Nobody ever caught that they have ADHD. They join the military, and then they go to a psychologist or whatever, or something happens, and they have to see a counselor, who knows what, and they get diagnosed as ADHD at a very large rate. Okay. And then they can take medication for it. So a lot of our soldiers are ADHD and are also medicated. Okay. So then what happens is they leave the military, they leave the environment where they had structure and did well. They probably lose their benefits because they are not supported in that. They most likely completely are unable to function in a way that they were in the military, and now they have they lack emotional regulation again, and prioritization, and their impulse control, and they also are probably dealing with PTSD, and they are off their meds. Also, there's 23 suicides of veterans every single day. Let me think about this. Okay, so we are not finding kids that have ADHD. We're not supporting them. We're shocked that we have so many kids leaving school and that we have chaotic classrooms. There are about 26,000 to 32,000 students in CCSD alone that definitely have ADHD. We found 500 of them. That leaves us with 25,500 to 31,500 of students that are going throughout all the classrooms, teachers trying to figure out why this kid won't do his homework, pay attention, listen, et cetera, and we're not offering any type of strategies or doing any outreach to parents to say, hey, does your kid have 8 of these things? It's likely they have ADHD. Please send this form back. We will get a doctor or counselor if you'd like, or take them to your own. Then we are bringing the military into schools, saying, you guys should join the military. Come on in. None of you are diagnosed ADHD. 8% of you probably have it. We want to give you weapons and put you into very stressful areas. And then we're going to kick you out, and good luck with that. Okay. And we're all shocked why there is a high rate of veteran suicides. And we're all shocked why our prison has about 40 to 50% of ADHD people. So Canada, because Canada is amazing, Canada realized they had about 37% of their prison population was ADHD. And most of the inmates are like, what's the word, reoccurring. Like they get out, they can't function, because prison's a great place for ADHD, by the way, because you get up on time, somebody tells you what to do. It's like a dream. Okay. Um, so they get out in the real world and they can't hang, and they get sent back to jail for violating probation or forgetting something or not turning in the form or whatever it was, but they're back in jail. And so our prisons are full of a lot of people that are reoffenders. Um, Sometimes they reoffend just to get back in jail because they have like nowhere else to go, and they have no type of skills to survive in life, and they don't even know what to do or how to organize it or what they should even do next. So Canada realized this, and the 37% of their prison population was ADHD, and they decided to create an intake form for every inmate. When they get booked, they get like evaluated to see if they could have ADHD. And if they do, they get put on a plan where they're going to teach them life skills and start to help them succeed outside of prison when they get released. And then when they get released, they have different types of things that they offer them and some flexibility around the way that they do all of their whatever. And they have reduced their prison or ADHD prison rate by 20%. And now about 17% of their prison population has ADHD. And it's probably going to be less because a lot of the people are going to leave. Okay. So go Canada again. Yeah. So listen, like I said, when something is on the agenda, I can't really talk about it because then it like I couldn't like do a Facebook Live right now or go like do a public whatever. But there's nothing about ADHD on the agenda at all. Okay, so I can right now, but also I can't like get something on the agenda if I don't have the support of some other trustees. Like a couple of trustees would be like, yeah, I do want an agenda item for that. Let's put it on the agenda so we can discuss it publicly and maybe come to some decisions and look at some information and perhaps create some policies that might solve something. Okay. But I can't really like be the one to go like, here's all the things we should do. Okay. But if like somebody else wanted to like, if in theory, like a trustee got ADHD on the agenda, right? And one of the trustees was like, let's put ADHD on the agenda. And some people were in the room and they were like, at the end of the board meeting, they were like, hey, I like that idea about putting ADHD on the agenda. I support it. And then it got put on the agenda like a week, or like a month or 6 weeks later. Then that trustee like couldn't talk about it anymore. But then other people who had information about ADHD and those stats and things and some ways, some knowledge of how we could support students best and maybe some policies that we could create, like making it a beginning of the year form that goes home to every parent and says like, hey, I think that we have a lot of kids in CCSD that are undiagnosed ADHD, and we want to make sure yours isn't going to fall through the cracks. So please look over the survey and return it if you feel like your child has more. That's 7 out of 12 of them. We're happy to connect them to a professional and provide a diagnosis and hopefully allow them to succeed in school so they don't become the 35% of ADHD kids that drop out of school. Okay. So that could happen. A legislator could decide to write a bill that says, hey, you know how we make you check kids for like, what's the one? The spine one. Can't even think of it right now. What is that called? Osteo something. And hearing and vision, like that's a mandate. But maybe we'll write a bill and it'll say all kids must get checked for ADHD. Not necessarily medicated or done or anything, but just aware, okay? Because if we started to, my belief is that if we started to pinpoint who has ADHD, we could solve so many of the world's problems in the long run. Okay, we could solve the prison problem. We could create more entrepreneurs. Are we jailing our Steve Jobs? Okay, we could lower the teen pregnancy rate. We could lower the dropout rate. We could lower the depression. We could lower substance abuse, suicides. ADHD people commit suicide at an alarming rate. ADHD kids are 4 times more likely than other kids to get hit by a car, burn themselves, or die young. Okay, because they're impulsive and they do things that they don't look when they cross the street and that kind of stuff. So if we have 25,000 undiagnosed kids in a system of 322,000, I really believe that giving those kids the resources they need would trickle to the world and lower everything from welfare to teen pregnancy to veteran suicide rates to prison to crime in general to substance abuse problems. And ADHD kids are like 4 times more likely to use drugs. And then all these parents don't want to give their kids medication because they don't want to put their kids on drugs. No, not giving your kids medication is pretty much giving them a substance abuse sentence. Okay. Definitely optional. Okay. So if I was gonna say what we should do right now, I can't do it. I can't like make a legislator do anything. But the power that I could have, if enough people wanted it, would be to listen to parents who think that we should at least send a form home to get the parents' consent to give them a diagnosis. We send forms home and upon registration for to be in the yearbook, to be in the media, to get sex ed, that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's not really like asking too much to send that home to everybody. If we could potentially catch 25,000 of the kids we have right now that might be about to drop out, on the way to drop out, gonna kill themselves or end up in prison. Okay, so it's really not like that much of an ask to print a piece of paper and send it home. But like if the trustee decides to put that on the agenda, then we can't really talk about it anymore. So it would be up to like people in the community to look at the school board agendas and see if any of it says anything to do with ADHD. And if it does, to send letters to the superintendent, all the trustees, show up at the meetings, give public comment and say that you support or anyone supports figuring out how many more kids have ADHD and then doing what we can to provide awareness to the teachers, the parents, and accommodations that make sense to them, that don't just try to fit them in a box. You know, I was gonna do this video already, I was planning it, but I've had many, many instances since being on the board that are direct, not results, but related to my ADHD. And one happened yesterday. I said dick measuring contest. Okay. I should have. It was a dick measuring contest. But the news, reports it, and I mixed up the word colored students with students of color when talking about the direct prison to pipeline of students of color. So I've mixed up like 1,000 words so far, and 2 of them have made the news. Okay, so I've also been struggling to fit into the school board, not just the school board, but CCSD in general, right? Because